Okay, looks like we are live. Okay, self-analysis. Um, I haven't started scheduling these things. As I'm about to show you, there's quite a lot of videos that I published from 2015 to around 2019, 2020, and maybe a couple between 2020 and 2022. Um, let's see. We got 86 videos there, 18 videos there, 85 videos there, 26 videos there, 33 videos there, 44 videos there, and then a couple, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 videos. So there's quite a few. There's only a few on the channel right now that have been curated. I did want to start this off with an interesting voicemail that I got or that Travis sent me. One of the chaplains at LA Day at Pac Base had contacted him while I was publishing these videos around 2017, 2018. And it's interesting because they had no contact with him for a long time. He paid his freeloader's debt. And, this is the one that he recorded. However, there was another one where I believe he spoke to somebody or they left a message saying they would cover his trip, all expenses paid. This was probably an attempt to get him and his wife to go and on camera and discredit me and say things. Check this out.
Hey, Travis. My name is Lon. I'm the chaplain of LA Org, and I'm taking up your case. I know you had some upset 15 years ago. Looks like you were on staff at Melrose. It was not good. So I wanted to get in calm with you, and you can give me a call back. That'd be great. My number is 323-953-3200, and that's for the chaplain. Okay, thanks, boy.
So, hey, bro. I just played the recording that you sent me years ago of the chaplain calling you over to handle an upset and pick up your case. And I'm going to be going over OT Maxims, what they are. I'm going to just be, reviewing this video.
Zenu.
And the state of mind that I was in, I guess. This was a confusing, crazy, disorienting, disruptive, interrupting thing that kind of hit me all at once. So this might be interesting because I'll be going over what L. Ron Hubbard says OTs can do, what their abilities are, and it may not be exactly what you think. And many times he admits fully how full of hot air he is. So this is one of those videos. It's slightly sarcastic, so it might be mildly entertaining. When I look at these older videos, it's not that old, it's 2017. And I look at the shape of my face and my body, and I remember what I was feeling like, and constantly bouncing back and forth between living spaces and not really having a permanent place to live. In addition to domestic issues that had been brewing for over about 50 years. And also friends who are going through some very difficult trials with their children. It's I don't know how the hell I managed to stay as sane as I did, and I don't look very sane in a lot of these videos. So here we go. This is gonna be some insight into OT stuff, and if you can't track with my slow talking meter, whatever, then watch it later at 2x speed. I've been told I sound like Robert Downey Jr. So here we go. Survival mode. Yeah, I was in survival mode for a very long time. Very long time. And so was my mother. And, when it lasts that long, sometimes I wonder if it ever goes away. But definitely, I don't know how to say your name. Makmirdo Chagall. But yes, correct. Let's start this from the very top. All right, here we go. Self-analysis. This is me looking back. What is this? 6 years ago.
Xenu.
Is the audio coming in? You can hear the audio from the video. Should be fine. Just checking. Sophia, okay. There's a time delay, so I'm just waiting to see if the audio was coming in before I get going here. It's a 20-minute video, so this will probably end up being like a 45-minute video. Okay, thank you, dear. All right.
So, since we're on the subject of whole track, with the whole track series now, figured I'd read OT Maxims.
Your whole track is the sum total of all your lifetimes combined. It's something that you audit in Scientology. It includes the history of your entire spiritual existence, somewhere around 76 trillion years in Scientology.
1-page HCO bulletin, which is the scripture of Scientology. HCO bulletins, RJs, which are Ron's journals, policy letters. There's a difference between a bulletin and a policy letter. And executive orders and executive directives. Okay? OT Maxims. People curious about what OT is. OT powers, like Tom Cruise has, where he's just, he can hang on the side of a fucking airplane. And do all his own stunts and stuff. This is all considered OT shit. He does his own stunts.
I don't know if y'all can hear the washing machine in the background. I was washing my clothes.
Does his own stunts. He's OT. So, this came from the 80s. 1982. Hubbard Communications Office, St. Hill Manor, East Grinstead, Sussex. HCO Bulletin of 10 August 1982. He always dated things like the military did. All right, OT Maxims, bold or capitalized, underline. For some time now, I've been engaged on a patch of OT research, resulting in the new OT levels. Sign up now. And which will result in never before dreamed of states of being for Thetans. These new OT levels and others to follow will advance a Thetan to levels he hasn't even imagined for eons. Super Saiyan, Kamehameha. And hear this. And hear this. In order to help you along the road to OT, I'm going to release the following OT data that you can use to pull up your Theta bootstraps and get along up the road. Pull up those bootstraps. Power. OT power is defined as light year kilotons per microsecond. Light year kilotons per microsecond. Okay.
I still wonder, like, you got to give the guy credit for coming up with some crazy shit, man. This is wild. Light year kilotons per microsecond. Like, it's kind of it's a tongue twister, but it's also like a mind bender.
The power of a Thetan, light year kilotons per microsecond, is measured by nothing else than the distance, the spherical spatial length around him in his environment that he can control. That's OT. This is OT. This is OT. It's in the sphere of my environment and I can control it. You see what I mean? Woo! It's in the sphere of my environment. I can control it. Can I reach this thing over here? This mixing board? No. Can't control that. That's not OT. Anyways, and that is the power of a Thetan, the totality of it. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. Believe it or not. He does say, believe it or not. Believe that or don't.
This is, I'm not sure what you mean. It's a bit like throwing a dart arrow into a physics book. That is fast. That's like fascinating idea and concept. I'm really curious about that. But, there are many times in his lectures and his bulletins, and books. You see it. I think I see it more in the bulletins and policy letters where he'll call bullshit on himself, but he'll do it in a way that's very articulate and use these words like light year kilotons per microsecond. And it's a bit disorienting, but then he'll define it as I just read it, the sphere directly around the person. And in my ridiculous display of grabbing the drapes behind me and hitting the table and grabbing a piece of candy and dropping it, those are things within my direct sphere of control. Like I'm holding my phone, I can grab this remote. See, conceptually, this is all done with the power of the mind only. Like my hand is just making this thing float. Like imagine your hand not even there. If you're a spiritual being, um, this is just an animated form, and really what's making this thing float around in the air is my OT power.
That's if you listen to his lectures, he's pretty half-assed about all this shit. I'm probably fucking crazy. You can believe that or not. When a Thetan exerts this power uncleverly, he brings about destruction. So I get mad. This is a glass table, by the way. If I get mad and I slam something on it, break the glass table, that's destroying something. OT style. And thus you get a fascist state that destroys itself. It's got the control, but not good sense. Well, since everything, Ron, since everything is made up of mess, like this is mess, but it's probably interpolated mess, and I have the power to destroy it, then of course it has a reaction to that. I'm interpolating the theta. Message. So
I don't know if anyone got the reference, but that's from Don't Be a Menace while drinking your juice in the South Central or whatever. Wayans Brothers movie. Throughout the movie, there would be narrative that wasn't necessarily a joke, but it was posed as a joke in the narrative, but it actually had some, truth to it. And there would be this guy pop out and say, "Message!" So I thought it was funny that the dryer beeped. In the hood. The dryer beeped right when I said, turbulated theta or something. In theta.
And so that where good sense and judgment enter in, good sense and judgment, OT powers. When good sense and judgment are not added in control, control gets a bad name. So what they want you to believe, what Ron wants you to believe, is that control is good. And this is core concept in body routing, in OT body routing. Because bodies are just spheres of theta, right? And you just have to move that energy somewhere else into a mission. It's control. When good sense and judgment are not added into control, control gets a bad name. Example, someone I'm body routing with has never body routed before. And so they ARC break somebody, quote, ARC break. They freak someone out, in other words. Because you're in a fucking cult. You walk up to somebody and you're like, hey, I got a Dynetics book. You want to come get a personality test and get your mind fucked? When people feel like that, they will not respond to control. So there's a thing. There's drills, bulletins, training bulletins, stuff like that. HCCI, help, communication, control, interest. And all that is,
I do have an entire video on pre-session processes, which is what I'm talking about right there, in order to flatten control buttons on people regarding body routing or selling books. And, if you do them correctly, then you can flatten people's buttons on control relatively quickly, and get them to make a purchase or follow you to a mission and take a personality test. Um, I guess I'll go over that video some point in the future. But it is being referenced here. And HCCI just means help control communication interest, and it's a scale that goes from H all the way to I, and you bring the person up to interest. Simple, short explanation.
Abbreviation called HCCI, help control communication interest. And all that it means, it's a process that you drill. But what you have to do with a partner is get them to admit that help is possible. Get them to admit that communication is not bad. Then, at that point, and you can spend time getting a person to believe or to accept that help is possible on different levels. Like, is it possible to help someone with a drug problem? Is it possible to help someone with a family problem? Is it possible to help someone with a financial problem? Is it possible to help someone with problem? You get them to admit all this. Then you get them to understand that communication is not a bad thing. In fact,
I got to point out something. I was doing a lot of videos at this point, and really, like, just kind of going madman crazy, digging through all of the references and whatnot. So I just want to correct myself. When I say get them to do something, it actually more accurately is presenting information and communicating with a person so that they themselves have their own idea or cognition that what you're saying is correct, or at least correct in some form that they're thinking about it in. And that can all be adapted later into and folded into other concepts that that Scientology teaches.
the fact that they were able to communicate that help is possible is a measure of their integrity and all this. You start love bombing them at this point. And you talk about how great they are communicating this to you. And then then comes the crucial part.
So the communication part of this, I didn't realize I was going to go into this much detail on HCCI on this video, but the communication part, as I just said, whenever they start communicating with you, because you generally run into a barrier with someone, especially in LA where everyone knows, oh, those are Scientologists. And they have a barrier, social barrier kind of already established. If you're able to get through help and control, and you get them to start communicating, that's when you're starting to break down their defenses. And you what I'm explaining here is how important it is, per my training, that, and what I was told, how important it is, the third step in communication, in acknowledging how well that person is communicating, because that helps further break down the barriers of let's call it barriers of entry, or their own defense mechanisms. You're breaking them down, and you really want to make sure you do that thoroughly before you move on to the next step, which is interest. Because at any point, this person can fall back, slip and backslide into thinking that no, control is bad. No, you can't help me. And so you have to sort of walk a tightrope and be very, methodical in how you do this, and it varies from person to person. I would argue now, uh, after I guess some years of contemplation, that this is this is something along the lines of like, you know, personal and personal development, and it's like a fast track way. HCCI is a little skill set, tool set, whatever, to quickly um, get someone, help someone. I mean, it should be very clear that this is not helping many people, um, but to help someone uh, get to a point where they're willing to accept ideas. And that's a valuable skill, but it's not the tools, it's how you use it, right? So in this use case scenario, yeah, it rarely is beneficial for the individual, because everything that is used in Scientology to free a person is then used to enslave a person.
Where if you freak the person out, then you've lost them. You've lost them. They're gone. This can happen at any point in the introductory processes of Scientology, when people are routing on to the bridge. But at some point you have to confront control a person and get that person to admit that controlling things is okay. And usually it means not only does a person believe that controlling something as simple as a piece of candy is possible and okay, and try to apply that to other things. The problem is when they apply it to other things, they believe that it's okay to control other people and to manipulate other people. Interests manifest once a person has the idea in their head that control is possible. Because why would be for a lot of different reasons for a lot of different people. But let's just take a typical example. Someone finds out that it's possible and okay to control something. Well, if they admit to themselves that control is okay, if used with good sense and good judgment, then it's okay to control somebody if it's for their own good. All right. Especially if they have that mentality, like Aaron talks about in the Scientology Matrix video. They really think they're helping, and that all ends justify the means, because they're essentially asleep and not awake. They're hypnotized. It's the reverse of what that person thinks. You're the one hypnotized, and they're the ones that aren't. The wogs are walking around mostly awake, even if they're fucking on massive amounts of drugs. They're more awake than you are if you are a subscriber to this shit and you're actually in the church. So, when good sense and good judgment are not added into control, control gets a bad name. That's the example that I give on that. The person who doesn't know how to use HCCI properly. And so when we body route, sometimes Jason and I would body route 5-6 people at a time into Ventura Mission, and people would just jaw drop. Oh my God, that was so OT. Oh my God, that was so OT. And then we come back and bring some more. You guys are freaking OT as shit. But you're not even OT yet. But you know the OT Maxims. So blah, 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 blah. And that is where you get the idea that people shouldn't have control, is what it says. Because when good sense and judgment are not used, control gets a bad name. Well, we all know the quote, power corrupts, money corrupts, absolute power absolutely corrupts, you know, that whole thing. Control, power, in this case, power over someone is control.
Totally fucked that quote up. Power corrupts. Absolute power corrupts absolutely.
So, power corrupts absolutely. And that's what you see in the executive, as you go on up the org board. You see the more power, the more corrupt. So, a way to improve your control or another's is to do it on a gradient. Like I said, when you route someone onto the bridge, if you don't handle HCCI properly, then they can still blow because you haven't handled control on a gradient. Because you can't immediately just hypnotize somebody and start controlling them and have power over them. But if you do it slowly over time with a gradient, works really good in groups. Reinforcement. You reinforce the behavior. And it works. So if a Thetan is having trouble controlling things, get him to control things on a gradient and he'll snap right out of it. Well, whatever. What I found was that there were certain people who were not able to do Division 6 work. They were just not able to do it very effectively at all. A Div 6 person, Division 6 person, has to be someone that people like. You know, someone friendly. Not everybody's friendly. Definitions: good control, harmonious alignment. Bad control, disharmonious alignment. And by the way, you have art here too. War. Definition: bad control having to be exerted because good control wasn't exerted. And this also defines destruction. So he throws in the deep-ass meaning of why we have war on Earth is because of good control and bad control. And then he wraps it up saying, so there you are, use these maxims well, our future depends on it. That was in 82. This wasn't long before he died. He was fucking crazy as a shithouse rat. So, light your kilotons per microsecond. It's the power of a Thetan. It's a hard sell pack, by the way. It's one of the only books that I'll really ever fuck with on this channel, because this would be the Bible. Now, I have read, just so you know, I've read all of the basic books. I read the books before the basic books, before they reprinted them. I also read all the manuscripts for all the congresses, and I had the whole LRH library, including the OECs and the the management series. I had the assists manual, which is a rare find. I had a lot of rare shit. I had some Ron's journals. I had tons of volunteer minister course. I have the volunteer minister's handbooks. I have the What is Scientology book still, and I use that as in fact, I'm using the What is Scientology book to reference how they present the religion to the outside world, similar to the way Jehovah's Witnesses present their religion to the outside world with their with their Kingdom magazine or whatever. It's propaganda, you know. It's not what they really believe. You want to know what they really believe, then you join. But you know, as far as I know, Jehovah's Witnesses don't. It's not as rapacious as Tony Ortega would say, financially as Scientology is. So control, there's a reason why I read Control and Self-Determinism in an earlier video. So I would go check that out too. If you found this video interesting, check out the video about self-control and self-determinism. All this shit correlates to how people are, let's just say that there are defense mechanisms that people set up for their own protection. You do this in everyday life to protect yourself emotionally, physically, and financially. If somebody comes up to you at a gas station and asks you for $10 and gives you the same old line that the last 10 guys did, you may or may not be willing to help the guy out. It just depends on what defense mechanisms you have set up. You may have something set up where I'm just not giving anybody any money. You know, charity starts at home. And it doesn't make you bad for having some sort of defense mechanism in that way. But all of the material in the Hard Sell Pack is designed to help you break down those barriers, those defense mechanisms with a person, with very general, vague concepts that are in some way, somehow, sometimes feasible, not believable, not necessarily provable, not provable, but feasible, and it's pseudo-psychology. That's what it is. It's pseudo-psychology. The methods that are employed are being employed unethically. And with the HCCI scale, I can't define it in psychological terms just yet. That's the goal. One of. So I hope you enjoyed this video. Tomorrow's my birthday. I don't know what I'm going to do tonight. I've been sitting around watching DVDs. I unplugged from the Facebook for a little while. And my best friend was here last night. We watched a classic cult rock movie that was shot to save a bar downtown in New England somewhere called Lupo's. Anyone from New England know of a bar called Lupo's? There's a movie called Complex World that
Great movie.
was shot over a weekend there, and it's a great rock and roll flick. And haven't seen it in over 20 years, and had it transferred from VHS to DVD. So we watched that through a 412 cab and some rigged up TV that sitting on a keyboard stand. So that's my OT Maxim video, and if you have any questions, comments, please put them below. I'll do my best to answer them. I've got a video, a follow-up video for the whole track interiorization rundown video that I did, because there's some good questions that came out of that. So, and there were some circumstantial things that were going on related to the memories that I had from past lives. So in other words, there were things that were going on that could have made me believe things that were already in my mind, that just sort of like when you're being audited and you're like, and they're like, what's that? What's that? Your brain goes to like something that is familiar. And so there were some things that I was familiar with that make sense as to why I would think I had those memories. So have a great day. And hold on, I should have done this in the beginning. Nope, gotta have a different sound. How about, there we go. Welcome to or goodbye. Goodbye from Wog World. We'll see you again someday. And hopefully it won't be that long. See you, news.
So, yeah, there's a lot of videos that aren't on my channel anymore. I didn't delete them. I just archived them. And as I feel, I've been reviewing them myself and looking at the stuff that I went through. That last little bit, you know, from 2015 to, you know, I guess 2021, I felt like I was in a pinball machine, and like a bomb blew up in my life. So it was like, all of my stuff, all of my clothes, all of my gear was either, I had to sell it, or it was just scattered all over the place. And when me and my friend that I was talking about, when we watched that movie, I had a 412 amp cabinet and set up what they call a hot plate. It's just like a really loud preamp. Ran it through this TV with RCA cables and plugged it in, and it was horrible sound and horrible translated from DVD or to DVD. Didn't have much food in the house where I was at, but I can't say that those experiences now, looking back, were necessarily bad. They were incredibly difficult. I'm in a completely different space now, and it's still kind of difficult to live in my own head, knowing that not that long ago, and how quickly, that's the thing, is how quickly things can go, so wrong so quickly. I almost wish that everyone could have this experience so that they understand and realize that, hey, your whole life can just crumble in a moment. And it taught me to be grateful and thankful for whatever I have, but at the same time, it's a moment to moment existence, and I think that's part of why I think it's a valuable experience to have, because living moment to moment, if you start thinking about the future too much, or you start ruminating about the past too much, in a dire situation like that, where you feel where you not only feel that you have very little resources or support or anything like that, it's very easy to succumb to, like, I don't know what else to call it, but like the dark side. And when you see someone who's homeless or destitute or somewhat vagrant, if it's someone you know or a stranger, like, and you haven't experienced that yourself, I can only speak from my experience, but every person I see that seems to be going through that, I have a majorly different perspective, because usually there is a, a good reason or some tragic thing that happened with this person that caused them well, that got them where they're at, which is nowhere. And being nowhere with no one tends to sort of harden. It tended to harden me, and also, I don't know if you can tell from that video, but I kind of gave no fucks. I was kind of seemed a little manic. Um, I know that during that period of time, and still to this day, like I struggle daily with being away from my kids. It was much more difficult at that time, but and I'm not saying it's less. It's way less difficult now, um, because that kids grow up so fast, and time flies, and you miss these moments. And but the thing is like I said, when you experience this, you know, isolation from society, um, and it seems like even your best friends and family uh, are looking at you like, what the hell are you doing? Why aren't you getting your life together? And you simply can't, and they simply can't understand why. Um, this gave me a well of compassion as I came out of it, and I think it's a valuable experience. But to wrap this up, OT powers, I like to simplify it to what he says in the OT Maxims, which is, in my opinion, him sort of calling his own bullshit. It's only what you can affect in your sphere. I can pick up this remote, I can pick up my phone, um, I can shake a bottle and make a noise. That's the extent of it. That's OT powers. I could go outside with Jason to Barnes and Noble and talk to people who are in my little sphere and run this little help control communication interest, uh, little psychological hypnosis trick, and bring people into the mission. And they said, "Oh, that's so OT." So OT is really, a simple concept to me, because he lays it out uh, with the language that he did. It's whatever is in your sphere of your physical sphere. Like, imagine a circle or big orb around your body, and like the Michelangelo or Leonardo, whoever did the anatomy man. That's your sphere, and you can touch things there, you can move things there, you can manipulate things there, and that is the extent of your OT powers. And you'll read in some magazines, like Celebrity Magazine, about someone who found their keys to their car. The stories are quite hilarious. Aaron talks about some of them in some of his videos, OT wins and stuff. And, they're usually just minor things like, oh, I couldn't find my keys, and then I just decided to get in my car, and there they were. Boom, pow, whoosh. OT. Whatever. Um, so, yeah, there's way more. And I'll play this message again that was sent to Travis from the LA org chaplain around 2017. It's still funny to me.
Hey, Travis. My name is Lon. I'm the chaplain of the LA org, and I'm taking up your case. I know you had some upset 15 years ago. Looks like you were on staff at Melrose. It was not good. So I wanted to get in calm with you.
So this is an LA org chaplain saying, hey, heard you were at Melrose and staff, and it was not good. Well, yeah, okay. He admits it. Where did he get that information?
And if you can give me a call back, that'd be great. My number is 323-953-3200, and that's for the chaplain. Okay, thanks, boy.
Yeah. That was actually kind of a surprise to me when that happened. So, yeah, until next time, this is, I'm not going in sequential order necessarily. But there's plenty to go through. And I find it kind of fascinating to look at, like, the God, the stuff that you go through. I maybe I shouldn't have been publishing all the stuff I was publishing, but I definitely felt that I was going through some serious mental shifts, paradigm shifts, and I wanted to document it, and so I did, for better or for worse, and now I'm looking back on it retrospectively, and I do see, things that I didn't see at the time, and I'm aware of things that I wasn't aware of at the time, and it's kind of like looking at a different person. So, thanks for tuning in and on this little journey here, going back and analyzing these videos. Xenu, and until next time, we will meet again.